We've got a look here at some League superfans in Hangzhou, China. They're out in force in support of Edward Gaming as the LPL champs head into this critical game versus AHQ. Now welcome back to San Francisco, where we're setting up for our final scheduled match of the day. And it all comes down to this for EDG and AHQ. The winner goes on to Chicago, and the loser, well, they go home. And now important to note off the bat here, EDG has made a substitution. Pawn is coming in for the mid lane. Scout is out. Westor is remaining in for AHQ. So gentlemen, with this in mind, down the line, I want to know who you think's walking away with it, and give me some solid reasons why. Clement, let's go.
This obviously was a very tortured decision for me. As an analyst, I do feel like EDG has the edge, and that's the pick I'm going to go with. I think they have. It's really hard for Westor to figure out what to play in 2 games, and the familiarity between the teams really benefits EDG. However, I will say, brother teams or not, AHQ is not going to back down. S4, we won a game from 10,000 gold back. We hit a hook, and that led into a Baron. AHQ still has a chance to win this off of their top lane, and my heart feels it, but as an analyst, EDG.
All righty, Deficio, what's going to be?
I have to go EDG as well. I'm basing this mainly on EDG, in my opinion, having a much stronger early game, and AHQ with Westor will have almost no champion pool to pick from in the mid lane. EDG know this team so well. They played against Westor time and time again. They're not going to get surprised about anything. And I think bot lane, you can't pick Jinx versus Deft and Mako. You can't pick Lissandra in the mid lane for Westor. So I see 2 lanes winning. Yes, I do see Mouse losing, but EDG knows this. Everyone knows that, and they can play around those 2 lanes and get into mid to late game. And while they can actually still lose it there, I think they're going to be good enough to close it out.
Chat, what's the thinking here?
This is a tough one, and I'm thinking the way Clement is thinking as far as this is an incredibly difficult decision to make. But I'm tired of giving EDG the benefit of the doubt because they were pre-tournament expected to win this group. They haven't shown a good early game in most of their games. Deft and Mako, while they've had good laning phases, haven't been able to carry the games. And Mouse has been more reliability than anyone else. And I think the mismatch in the top lane between Ziv and Mouse swings this to AHQ, actually. So I'm going to predict AHQ. I thought in my heart that EDG was going to lose to H2K, but I was too scared to make the prediction because I was giving EDG so much credit. I'm done with that right now. I think AHQ's taking it, and EDG's going home.
I do want to challenge the early game point just a little bit, because I actually think EDG, outside of that H2K game, have been doing really well early on. They've been winning most of them, especially with the bottom lane. Deft has the highest CS difference at 10 and 15 minutes in all of Worlds. So I do think EDG has had a much better early game than you give them credit for, but I do agree we also give them a lot of credit because they were supposed to be so good.
Yeah, and they're also the only team to lose to INTZ, and when they fall behind in the early game, they haven't shown an ability to come back.
I mean, I saw Clement, the little fist bump there. that when Jat made the prediction for AHQ, you talked about 2014 AHQ being able to make a stab back into it. How does this squad in this game, in your mind, make a run at taking the game off of EDG?
Well, I don't think EDG as a mentality is that stable right now. I think they have had bad record coming back into games, and they've already lost to H2K today. Also, I don't think Clearlove is that in sync with the team overall. You saw Mouse getting dived a lot of times. Clearlove was not around to help out. I think those are points that really AHQ could exploit, and plus, they're familiar with the team, so Westor might have some champions he could play.
But honestly, do we really expect AHQ to do well early on? 2 games against H2K, they lost the early game. 1 game against EDG, they also lost the early game. Why would they suddenly now turn around
EDG
with Westor in
lost the early game to HQ.
Okay, that's right. But my point is, when these 2 guys played each other last, EDG had 0 issues winning early on. Their problem was closing the game, but Deft had a really bad team fight. So I think EDG will have a far superior early game, and I do agree late game it can go wrong, but I don't think it will.
I am all that much more excited for this game because I have a split desk, because it's do or die time for both of these teams. We're ready to get into it, so now it's time to send it over to Riv and the guys.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great banner on the day, and we are about to get into our next game here. We have AHQ versus EDG, and coming out of this game, they got to have something in the tank because you have another game.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. This is a pretty big deal for EDG. I think, honestly, they don't just want to win this one. They want to win a lot and win the next one quite handily. So expect them to come out and just give it everything.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to come at this with everything because the winner of this secures a quarterfinal spot. And it doesn't matter right now if it's first or second. You deal with that in the tiebreaker. But first, you have to win this game. You absolutely have to. So I think they throw everything they have at it. Even if they don't have much left in the tank, you give it everything.
Everything and the kitchen sink, I would imagine, from EDG. And I think it starts with Clearlove personally because that man looks like he's going to be quite angry in
You
this
said
game.
you said we might hear or see the dark love, as
Yes.
it would be, the dark side of Clear Love coming out in this game. Well, it's also going to be Pawn in the mid lane to switch things up for EDG, so AHQ may have to switch things themselves in this ban phase. Right on the money.
Oh, Jace ban from EDG. Pawn loves that champion in the mid lane. So it's kind of curious that they ban it themselves, considering it has been banned against them. And Rek'Sai is actually something that has been banned against EDG quite frequently, because Clearlove picks that up very quickly.
Bans are going by quite fast. Ken and Jace, and one more. Syndra was actually banned out by AHQ, which kind of takes one away from them, but it will be Nidalee to finally get that one out.
They kind of have to, because of the fact that it's Westor in the mid lane. He really just plays Malzahar, Lissandra, Twisted Fate, all of which are left up for him right now.
Yeah, I'm expecting perhaps even early Malzahar, not obviously locked in first rotation from AHQ, but from them perhaps in the next one, just because it's up and available for them. Westor perhaps most comfortable. I would like to see the gauntlet thrown here, however, and Twisted Fate to be seen from either of these teams. I know Pawn is actually an outstanding Twisted Fate player himself.
Yeah, this is actually something that I was really interested in as well, because top lane, Mouse, underperformer for EDG here. He has been kind of singled out as the weak spot, whereas Ziv, very strong performer for AHQ. You would think they would ban out the Poppy or the Gnar and try to take that away from EDG, so Mouse has something a little bit safer. But that's not what they've gone with here, and that's what I'm interested in, is what does AHQ pick to play up against whatever Mouse has in that top lane, because you need to leverage that for your team.
Nami will lock in. The Poppy could most likely go to Mouse. We saw him playing that earlier versus the H2K game, but the Kennen was what he was playing against, now banned by EDG, so he might have a little bit easier time there to keep himself safe, present himself in EDG fights towards the mid game.
Yeah, and the Poppy locked in. It's very safe for Mouse. Doesn't matter if he gets behind or not. But the Nami for Mako, they've been doing this a lot. And for some people, it's a little bit strange, because Mako has been a big playmaker for them. So why isn't he picking something like Alistar? It seems like his style has shifted a little bit to keeping Deft safe, making sure they dominate the laning phase. And like Fischio was talking about, 10-15 minutes, CS leader in the league.
I would actually like this locked in from AHQ, whilst they may only be hovering it. Think about how you beat EDG. Kill Deft. Olaf can literally ignore everybody and just go kill Deft.
If he doesn't have his summoner spells up, then it's going to be hard. Deft always on the mark with getting himself, or keeping himself alive, I should say. But if you can put yourself right next to Deft, maybe he can't get away so easily, and it will be the Twisted Fate locked in for Westor. It's finally left up for him. He goes right to it.
The Card Master throws down the gauntlet, picks up the dice, and now let's see what they play into it, because it's a quite early pickup here of the Twisted Fate. When you see the Poppy and have a chance to counter that, it's really interesting.
It was almost expected from AHQ, let's say that much. EDG not banning it indicates that they have a counter pick. Now, I know that's just a hover, but he can actually lock this
absolutely.
in. Pawn has played this competitively during the LPL season in a separate tournament. It's a direct counter to Twisted Fate.
Yeah, it does actually load them very heavily with physical damage, though, especially if they go with this lineup that they have hovered right now, but it absolutely dumpsters that Twisted Fate.
Of course, we shouldn't see it, but it's pretty exciting.
Probably not.
Probably going to be the Blood Mage. Vladimir being hovered now. Olaf as well, locked in here for Clear Love. Rek'Sai is not going to be picked up or banned, with that at least on the side of AHQ. He wants to be able to go in. So the Olaf is locked, so is that Vladimir. And now we'll see AHQ has a chance to round out their composition, just missing that AD carry.
Olaf for Clear Love is an interesting one. It stands out to me. He hasn't had the best pathing at the moment. Clear Love hasn't felt that confident in his team, but he's going to have to rely quite heavily on them when playing the Olaf. Needs to hit the axe and rely that everyone can do damage with him. Otherwise, he's just constantly slowing people. It is good into the Twisted Fate, is good into the Elise, however, and should be capable of getting him out alive, as is the Vladimir when you think about it. Poppy's okay also.
Hopefully absorb a few of those crowd controls, so the team has an easier way in. It's Tom Kench pick up here for Albus. Can do big things in that bot lane. We see a lot of denial from that champ pick. It is going to be, tried and true, bringing it back once again. The Jinx and the Tom Kench, possibly. It's been a while since we saw those two, at least with each other on the Rift here at Worlds. And it's going to be a Gnar lock-in for Albus.
They have the protection with the Tom Kench for the Jinx.
Yep.
And whatever you pick, it has a bit of a range advantage over, unless it's a Caitlyn.
They have the LMS Exodia. Like, that's ridiculous. How did that get through?
Actually, you're very right.
Twisted Fate. Albus playing Tom Kench that's been banned from him. What is happening?
EDG gave them a lot of what AHQ wants to play, and these teams are incredibly familiar with each other. There's a lot of ties between the two. They scrim each other regularly, support each other, but EDG, final pick coming through there with the Sivir. Range disadvantage, but he does have the Nami to help back him up during the lane phase.
And again, another way to get out of a Twisted Fate gank, perhaps dodge the Elise Cocoon. They have a lot of tools defensively here, EDG, and to me it feels like they just want to play standard, safe League of Legends, get to a team fight, win that team fight, and just do what they do best. So maybe not the 5 best champions, but the way to play it is there.
15 minutes, no rush. We're good. Play it out safe, gentlemen's agreement. 20 seconds left on the clock. As you can see at the top, 3 and 2 for both teams. One will go on to face H2K for that #1 seed out of Group C. So one team has a long road ahead of them as H2K. It's a pretty nice break right now.
And H2K already locking that in. And the winner of this joins them and then has to play them for that spot. Like you said, and looking at the compositions across the board, he's somebody you have to look at this game. Him and Westor. Can Westor get him online? Deft picks the Sivir. A lot of that is for, hey, I can just shield your gold card 100%, make sure that I'm fine. But On needs to come online because that Vladimir's going to have so much HP, and a Twisted Fate is not enough to get through that.
This is where I look at Albus and say he actually has a really big job ahead of him.
I think everybody does. Join the conversation over on Twitter. Capture your favorite moments from Worlds 2016 and tweet them to us at LOL Esports using the hashtag Worlds Big Plays. Also, don't forget to vote for your teams. Hashtag AHQ win, hashtag EDG win to vote for them as they are now going for their final chance at making it to the quarterfinals here at Worlds. We are on the Rift.
Very important game now for both of them. It's do or die. Westor gets his Twisted Fate, but Pawn also has his Vladimir, and it's Pawn playing instead of Scout. So they bring in the big guns, the team fighter, the confidence player as well. This is a big statement from EDG, and they actually just want to stamp the foot down on this middle lane.
Yeah, if they played Scout, it just is more of a roaming style, and that would have matched Westor in a different way. So Pawn is trying to circumvent Westor, and that's what a lot of this is. We talked about Deft with the Spell Shield will be able to actually stop a lot of those ganks that happen from Westor if he just tries to gold card him. So now Westor has a lot to think about, but he's on a signature champion.
It's like they all have outs and then a giant tidal wave if they really need to use it for Mako. A lot of safety.
Well,
little vision grab here in the early game.
Also at the same time, right? Twisted Fate comes through. If you time the Nami bubble correctly, he's immediately in that CC.
A lot of things become conditional once everybody's ready to fight in this one.
We did just see a little early movement there from EDG. Clearlove being in the bush, but Albus smartly knows he's recognized what happens now in Worlds. You want to have control of that bush. Don't just face check it. Level 1 Olaf can kill you.
Pings, scarily accurate, although no one working on them.
This is interesting because it looks like because they're double melee, EDG may expect them to start on the camp, and now they're going to be able to see that they put down a ward there, and that Mako is on this side.
He's going to check. The thing is, AHQ are obviously not doing it, as you can see them. They might have the jump.
Checking again, just in case.
Did they do it late?
I don't know.
Are they trying to trick us? They know something we don't. But no, pops out in mid lane. They probably can now figure Albus is playing brush control as he also comes out to start with his stacks.
There's actually more of a stack for the healing there as opposed to for the execute, because it's part of your push to get a push advantage. Is to use that on a higher HP minion.
Yeah, now we look towards Deft and Mako in lane and say they should probably be pushing, get towards that level 2 first, and keep Arn and Albus under turret. The goal of the Tahm Kench and Jinx should actually be to try and match that, get the level 2 at least on time, and not get pushed under the turret. Tahm Kench wants to be moving forwards, or he is losing that lane by himself.
It's almost level 2. Need that one more.
Yeah, that was AHQ falling behind by a minion, and it doesn't look like much is going to come of it as they saw On hitting 2 right after them. Mountain trying to get his hands dirty here as he heads towards the mid lane. Pawn hovering the bottom side though, knowing that's where his jungle pressure is. He's got to be very careful. Walks up to it though, giving Clearlove something to fight with, and he is gonna have to queue over to some minions. Mountain gets out safely.
Even Flash too.
I mean, sanity checking for Clearlove as well. He missed both of his axes at point blank, something that should have connected, so not exactly the best start for an Olaf. It's not a hard thing to miss.
It's actually interesting as well because Mountain showed that he's quite familiar with how the Olaf is going to play, because Olaf started on the blue buff and went up, and he warded his red buff And normal jungle routes have you starting on the top side of the map, but the Olaf is very flexible with them. But this does give the top laner Ziv, who's shoved up, a little bit of an advantage in knowing that the Olaf is on this side of the map.
Exactly, so knowing he's at red, he's now gone up to Krugs. They had an opportunity for a second gank mid, but we already said this during Champion Select, how difficult it is to get ganks off against all of EDG's team compositions. These two are really going at it.
It's the level 3. Albus
Nice.
already has everything he needs and gets the flash.
You can see Mako trying to squeeze in there as well and say, maybe we can 2v2 once I get into position, but he got pushed off. Death forced the flash. A lot of aggression from On and Albus. We knew that Jinx Tahm Kench would be big, and Pawn and Westor going at it now, trading blows. Pawn will be able to heal right back up.
But just look at where the minions were there too. Westor had one on him and there were 3 or 4
Right,
caster
right.
minions on Pawn, so definitely takes the brunt of that.
There's boots and 4 pots. So he's going to be perfectly fine. When you look at Sustain, the Vladimir not having any potions left now means he needs to show a bit more respect, and Twisted Fate actually has control of that wave.
This is a dangerous place for the bottom lane to be because they have a wave building up that's pushing from AHQ side. And Mountain,
Ooh, forced a ghost because he
Yeah.
pulled a little early there from fear.
definitely worth it.
Pantheon would have been better.
If only you could go back. So Ziv with that ward able to finally push this wave up. It was about that 80% mark where Mouse was like, fine, I get to farm this. With that knowledge of Olaf, it's made it a little bit easier here for Ziv to get a 10-12 CS lead now on top of Mouse.
This is actually really risky from AHQ because they have their bottom wave and their top wave shoving, and they have no wards in the enemy jungle. They have actually no idea where Clearlove has been for the past minute.
This is where he has to think, my ward's gone, am I staying too long? And it looks like it was just to clear out those last few minions.
You can usually see in the way Mouse would play also, he very rarely has somebody in his lane. And so any act of aggression is a pretty big sign.
And I think Ziv just wants to keep this aggression up because Mouse already down 11 CS. It's actually a flat 10 if you count the ones that are in this wave.
He is entirely killable, however, when he hits Mega Enough form. Very difficult to kill him in Mini if you're an Olaf, but in Mega he's quite slow, lumbers about. So that's unlucky, really.
Oh, wow. Max, straight for the Sheen there from Westor. So he's looking for those auto attack trades and trying to whittle down Pawn quite frequently.
That's super weird. You could go Boots first. Boots of Lucidity have the same cooldown reduction, get around the map more and be more effective with your ultimate. The Sheen is a sign of combat, and trying to combat a Vladimir.
I mean,
This is how you going.
this is the time of the game where he has the ability to do so. It gets out of his hands a little bit later on.
Yeah.
So see if Westor actually embraces the opportunity that he has.
Also, his level 6 strike may not even be for that mid lane. Maybe he finds something down bottom with an Elvis and On kill. A little far behind there. Dulcet tones of Nami.
Oh,
Checks it. Oh, gets the spell shield out. Nicely done as well.
yep, support backs.
1 for 1.
Shouldn't hurt him too bad. Getting a staggered back between Deft and Mako. 45 to 58 CS there, so On has actually been able to put pressure on with Elvis as well as get that CS. 6 is for the top lane. May see a teleport coming into play as well once the junglers are ready to assist.
Yeah, still waiting to see an impact actually from either jungler. They've had presence, but that presence hasn't actually amounted to anything in particular. Olaf's still able to free farm.
Yeah, it's actually quite funny too because the vision is just actually rather sparse for AHQ. They actually don't have almost any wards down right now that are in the jungle. That one cleared by Clearlove was the only one on the top side of the entire map.
But the only real area that he's been able to gank, if you look at Clearlove, is going to be that top lane. Still a difficult thing to do when Mouse is having quite a bad time. Twisted Fate always under the turret. The Jinx and Tahm Kench is near impossible to gank as it is.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is if he ganks top, you have to worry about Westor using the ultimate and joining. So the vision that Ziv has, or I guess that he doesn't have, is quite important. He's playing blind, but Westor will always be there to help him.
This is actually a really big power play from EDG. 4 pink wards currently in their inventory. 5 now as they round that out. Big opportunity to present an area of the map that is completely blacked out for AHQ. Could be the Infernal Drake. Always going to be an important one to look towards if you were EDG. Good scaling composition and good damage across the board. As, oops.
Double down.
It's all right, yeah.
You know.
Now you have vision. You can see yourself on your side, right? Got to look good. So Mountain just continues to clear. It doesn't look like they're actually going to trigger something off of this. Clearlove makes his way in to see if he can spot out Mountain anywhere in the jungle. Doesn't see him yet, just throws down a ward to make sure this attack should go well.
Yeah, this is actually a very good route from Mountain. Doesn't do anything. Oh, steps on the chompers. And he gets chomped.
Mountain in the bottom. There's the cocoon as well. Mako cannot get out of this. He did throw down the exhaust, but it was not enough.
Yeah, good first blood actually secured by AHQ. Very well timed with the objectives.
Yeah, and they know that the red buff just came up for Olaf for Clear Love on the top side. So this is an Infernal Drake going over to AHQ in a game that could get them to quarters.
Now Ziv even preemptively warding the top side of the map, recognizes Clear Love could be near him, so AHQ on top of this entirely should be free.
Not even requiring the mid laner's presence. First kill goes down in the bottom lane, and what we thought would be already going to Deft and Mako in this situation. There's the Ragnarok towards the top side. He could get a nice hop out of this one. He doesn't even need anybody to hop on. Meganose, yeah. Took the words right out of my mouth. Ziv actually wants back in the fight, saying, where are you guys going? You wanted to fight.
Yeah, flash for Ghost there, and that's it. Clear Love still has his Ragnarok available.
We'll see this one more time in the bot.
And this is just great. The way he gets into the brush, the way that they have it pink warded on the tri-brush. So, Mountain had actually many ways to get in here. And then he waits.
Yeah, really good traps from Arn, of course. Already one tick of the tongue had been placed onto the Nami, so very easy to get him down. Good use of cooldown timings and baiting from AHQ across the board. Very elegant play.
CS on the top side, 83 to 65. And 70 to 81, so Pons grabbing that a little bit back for the team. AD carry CS has even back out as Deft is farming his face off. Hopefully not moving too far forward here. He does have Spell Shield to keep himself safe, but he knows his boundaries and backs right off once it's cleared.
And I look back at the play one more time. Really well placed traps there from On, because you want to get brush advantage as a support a lot of the times. And because Mako was up against the wall, he placed it in a line diagonally up so that no matter what happens, Mako, he has to flash immediately, or he has to eat that, and then he ate the entire gank. So really well played there from the Jinx.
Does lead to a Drake. Next one also going to be an Infernal, so
yeah, AHQ.
Getting spicy. That was even more awkward because he had a gold and didn't get it.
So he gets absolutely nothing for it.
It's about the effort. The effort put in. Bottom lane again is going to see Mountain. They are liking the lane gank way more than the gank from the river. They can see the inventories as well of EDG and those pink wards, so they are trying to just circumvent everyone they can.
They're not actually going to sneak into the next
they
bush.
Get level 6 Tom Kench this even. They have a lot of options here. Oh.
I mean, they still have those options available. But I think the decision's not to be. This is actually quite awkward because Olaf's here as he recalled. They have got teleport from Mouse. The chance is there. Not a good decision if they completely go for it, yet they need Pont to be here. And look at the vision they've got set up on the minimap.
It's like a light bright. They can go wherever they want. Pure vision. This is going to be Mountain coming back in here.
Oh, when he sees this, that's perfect. Dissuades this from happening.
The vision may be used just in a little bit, but that's thwarted for now. Pawn has to go back to mid lane to meet the CS that Westor is pushing into the turret here. And that may even mean Westor clears this and goes somewhere of his own, as EDG may not be ready for that.
Yeah, always going to be possible to have the Twisted Fate disappear, yet to see him utilize that ultimate, and his mana pool is actually quite lacking still. EDG, once again, a lot of wards set up, a lot of pink wards set up, so they just use that vision, stand on the vision till it's time to go. Vlad's coming down, and Olaf's in.
On, trying to get behind the turret, so they click on that. Not him. Albus doing what he can. Thick Skin's there to be used. On, back out, fires the ultimate off, and Mako's trying to take him down. He does get the kill. Now they're on to Albus, and EDG is having a party down here as Mountain tries to lock at least one person up. Could Westor come in to help? It looks like he's going to walk it all the way through and just stop the turret from going down.
Yes, be careful.
Couple of small mistakes in tanking the turret, but nobody actually goes down from EDG, so best case scenario is the outcome there. They planned that quite far in advance, and Westor...
Looking for Clear Love.
Finds it, great heal, the bubble goes out, and we'll see if Mountain and Westor can make their way out now. Mouse tries to fight it, but it looks like the team says, not this one.
And a great pick from AHQ to even up the score once again in those kills, but they're still up 1,000 gold, and they get blue buff priority with the jungler being down.
Gets it.
Yeah, those spiderlings don't actually take it, so EDG make a play.
Be his spiderlings. I was like, oh no.
If that happens, you're like, I apologize.
I apologize.
Go straight to my blue.
So sorry.
My blue is yours.
Big play now in the middle lane from AHQ, it looks like. Also get some pressure at least onto it. No teleports or ways to get there, and Mountain's ready to catch Pawn.
Pawn walks up.
Dodge still has the pool if anything goes too crazy. It does not look like he'll use it just yet to kill himself on it. And now Mountain's getting out. Hemoplague is there. This should be an alive Mountain. And it looks like they're going to make it out with Mountain limping away. Very aggressive here when AHQ needs to be, taking that turret to put themselves on the board. Also, first turret of the game, so a bit of a gold boost, and they had to repair what happened down here.
Yeah, and this is interesting because Def takes aggro first. The exhaust comes down, flashes towards Albus so that he can eat him, and that, just barely misses, but Mako was trying to block it anyway. And then they both go down. The top laners were looking for a TP place up top, and Ziv just got out of Mega Gnar, so no possibility of a play there.
Yeah, and being able to block the movements as well from Mountain with the Poppy W stops him from even getting in range of the Olaf or anybody like that. Fortunately, Twisted Fate had his ultimate. Has a lot of cooldown reduction as well being purchased at the moment, so is making some plays.
Nice for Mountain. He's able to pick up a blue for himself at 2-0. He's really going to be a factor once they start getting to these picks, once Westor can start getting himself out of lane. Pawn says, we'll just keep you right here and we'll keep farming back and forth. Gentleman's agreement. They're very close in CS. They're not even really pressuring each other here when they farm.
Speaking of, Pawn's made a conscious decision to go Proto Belt with Merc Treads to actually reduce the stun durations from an Elise and a Twisted Fate opposed to a Spectre's Cowl or Spirit Visage build. So it's actually quite a smart itemization choice from the Vladimir. Means it's harder to kill him.
Yeah, it's definitely more teamfight oriented as well, and it still packs a punch. That's the big thing here, is that Proto Belt gives him that extra damage, and with this Infernal Drake coming up, it's a great spike to have.
What's the scuttle worth? We'll find out in just a second. Stay tuned, and if he can get to the brush, there's no vision there. Clearlove instantly in the brush to gain vision and keep it. EDG come up with a kill there, and Westor, he's forced to turn tide because one right behind him could be his death. Westor goes down, and Clearlove comes up big.
EDG getting 2 more picks. It's timed well with the Infernal Drake, so absolutely able to make another play for it. 2k down, doesn't matter for EDG.
And they aren't even that low. Han was the only one who took a ton of damage, so heal back, and that's fine, but they can still 3-man this Drake. No problem here. They might try to ultimate it, sees it. Ooh. Picked up by Deft, hit 8 HP.
So Clearlove, is this the dark Clearlove?
This is actually a happy medium.
Happy medium?
Surprised, yeah.
The in the middle Clearlove, it seems to be working out.
This though.
Picking up those kills, and as well, one of those going to Pawn in the fight. I thought both went to Clearlove, so my mistake.
Yeah, but that's the person you want them on. You want them on to Pawn on that Vladimir, have him scale. He'd be an absolute monster, and he'd be very frustrating to kill, unless your Jinx is
especially when you've had a very level mid game. Nobody's really up. You get 2 kills first. Pawn's got to feel very good right now and might even go for that Westor kill. He's hovering down, though, so he's not worried about Westor. He's wondering what's going to happen in the bot lane with the team. Do they call him down? Does he catch Westor? As Westor tries to come down, but he gets pinged out on that pixel brush, while Ziv takes top.
Yeah, getting that top lane turret for Ziv basically by himself is quite a big deal. Has had a lot of control in this top lane 1v1. Mouse is still relevant though, and this is the thing with picking him Poppy and always giving him a champion that isn't necessarily a carry champion. Poppy can do a lot with the limited resources that Mouse is always getting even when he plays.
We see the Lich Bane finished here. Lucidity boots for Westor, approaching those turrets or even approaching EDG. He's going to be doing a good chunk of damage.
Yeah, a lot of AHQ wants to split push. They have a setup for a 1-3-1 later on in the game with the Twisted Fate and the Gnar because of these advantages, so they could go for that, but you still have to be careful of the Olaf in the rundown.
One big indicator that a Twisted Fate also wants to start splitting is when they decide to go for a Lich Bane. So choosing it now means that he's stuck mid for the moment, but once he gets his eye and gets the opportunity, he will split immediately.
It does seem like Ziv is going to start pulling out of that top lane. May just go for Krug and keep himself, as Mouse is up there too. They got to match teleports as well, so it may not be good for him to leave that lane. Bot lane is Clearlove just behind Dragon, getting some of those pink wards in. We consistently see EDG coming out of base with, and now AHQ as well, as they get a bit of money under their belt. 3k gold lead for them with first turret, another, and control of Infernal Drake. It's going to be a Mountain next, and that would be huge for AHQ to get. One more entry into the jungle. Like EDG and Clear Love, or EDG with Clear Love, just keep going on journeys. They're not finding much here other than vision on Mountain. It's just in and out, in and out.
Yeah, still trying to control the area at the very least, right? Pressure AHQ, force errors from the opponent.
Yep, right now, though, they're actually just forcing the zone to possibly go bottom and get this turret. Mountain's here as well, but it's just both junglers present, and On takes a huge chunk of damage.
Westdoor is creeping on the
TP.
Twisted Fate ultimate. He's going to come in.
Oh,
right
got
next to
him.
Oh boy, doesn't have a Zanyas yet. That could be bad news bears. Civ comes up huge though as they focused onto Westdoor, and he gets deft and
Oh, they're
Mako to
chasing.
go down. That's Albus coming through, tries to get himself in with the Abyssal Voyage, but it's a little too hairy, and they're forced to back out. Snap judgment by Westdoor. He was heading top and instantly bolted bottom.
And that's going to be the bottom turret on top of it. Ziv in the Mega Gnar, perfectly timed engage from AHQ with the TP from behind.
We have to actually highlight what Mountain did there as well. He flashes and uses the Q before throwing a cocoon, baits the spell shield out of the Sivir, and there was nothing left for Deft after that point. So really good awareness from AHQ's jungler, working with Westdoor and his signature champion. This is the kind of thing you never want to see when you play against AHQ. Please do watch.
We'll get another look
Right
at
there.
it right here.
Throws the Q,
That's
then
crisp.
the cocoon. Really well played. Then Deft, well, flashes away because it's what's left. Right into the hands of Ziv, who set that up. Has the great combo afterwards. And then Albus,
I'm coming, guys.
I can't help but laugh as well that Westdoor tried to stun Olaf as he had his ultimate on.
Yeah.
So this sick play from Mountain is just crescendoed by an accident, unfortunately, from Westdoor.
Oh, AHQ all together on these plays for sure. Now in a 5K gold lead over EDG here, coming up to 20 minutes in the game. That means we're going to get Baron on the map. So an Infernal Drake for both teams. 3 turrets, though, for AHQ, which means there is a bit of money for EDG to pick up fast. If they do win a few fights, they'll be right back in it.
and talking about picking up money, Deft, he had a huge CSD at 10, 15, 20. Well, On's ahead of him in this game. On has gotten a lot of
Like
attention in
600
that
gold.
bottom lane, and he is actually performing quite well today.
This is the thing we have very rarely seen from EDG. Of course, they went through the entire regular season playing around Def. He's the big focal point, but Pawn comes in around the time of Worlds, and there is a lot more emphasis from Clearlove in particular, centered around this middle lane. Scout roams. Pawn doesn't necessarily do the same thing. They're trying to get their big team fighter in the Vladimir to be exactly that instead of Def. So it's actually okay that he is behind in farm. He's still going to be a big Sivir. He will still do a lot of damage as the game goes on, but this is much more about Pawn being a big Vlad.
Seems like they know everything's going to be about this mid and Dragon over the next few, so Albus feels comfortable just to fly towards mid lane and set up some defense.
You were talking about how it's going to be about that next Drake coming up. On gets that top wave. This is going to be unanswered farm from EDG. If they send Deft up there, 30 seconds on that Mountain Drake, then it'll be started up immediately. He'd have to rush right back down after picking it up, and the wave has already been thinned out.
They're not fighting him.
I think he already missed his time. Like,
yeah, the wave's mostly bouncing back. He'll make sure that it pushes now for EDG, but coinciding with the Drake, it's going to be completely free for AHQ. EDG's response is not for that. I think they actually want the top outer as a gold bonus instead of the Mountain, which doesn't give you that gold.
oh, I don't know, because this is an AHQ squad that's built for 1-3-1, that's built for the split push. Oh, what?
What?
Mouse!
Keeper's Verdict didn't do anything. He tries the flash. I think he's just a finger fumble Ruski on that one, and he goes down.
He fumbled the whole keyboard there. The flash, the R, it hits nothing. He doesn't even hold it down for an extra second.
Just flash earlier, man.
Is it that easy?
It's just that easy.
So are you a man or a mouse?
Find out right now, 30-some CS behind. It's not making it easy for him, and being picked out in the jungle like that doesn't actually help EDG to gain any ground. We'll see what down in the top lane during this engagement.
Ziv doesn't really have much of a chance here because he already blew the flash earlier.
Hello, goodbye.
Yeah, this is something we saw and expected
Deft.
earlier.
Mako's still there. Evan
Westdoor?
Westdoor's gonna go down. No, the Zanyas comes out. He's still going down. It just looks pretty. Clearlove's gonna pick that up. Mako almost took it with the auto coming out to save his teammate. 1-for-1 in the top side as AHQ get what they've been looking for in the Mountain Drake.
It's perfect, though, because the kill does not go over to Deft, who they're trying to keep down in this game. They're trying to
true.
keep on above.
Very true.
And the turret stays alive, because that is what EDG were trying. We already said this earlier, they were looking to trade the objective. The turret's worth gold, and they are about 5k 2k gold behind, so they wanted to close that gap, get some more items before they actually contest the following Drake. Isn't going to work like that, and AHQ actually pull further ahead by Westor just throwing himself at them.
Yeah, and Mountain, props to him with that great cocoon right there at the end, because that ended up saving it and making sure that the Zhonya's had to be, it could have any little bit of delay in it. And yeah, you just pointed at it for me, where the flash from Death was still up.
6-6 now. Seems like EDG has picked up a little bit and being able to grab AHQ kills, as well as props to Mountain and Clearlove just being ahead for the team, being something they can look for at 4-1 and 3-1. It's a jungle battle now to really see who can get their team ahead.
I like what Maker's doing here. I'd prefer him to be on something like the Alistar. However, being that Nami does indicate that he wants to get Mikhails, wants to keep people alive from the Twisted Fate. This is a big part of his goal on this champion, is building towards that near immediately. So we'll have it soon. And around the Mikhails point should be when they have 2 items on Def, could be when they start trying to team.
Once we get into the late game, EDG can turn those gold cards and cocoons into very conditional, like you said, with Mikhails and Quicksilver sashes, pools, spell shields. It's going to get only harder for AHQ as they continue on.
Well, it still goes both ways there, because On is just Jinx hyperscales incredibly well. It used to be all about how Sivir could crit with the ricochet. She's received some nerfs. Jinx at the same time. Oh, your rocket crits, it still crits everybody. It's still a large AoE damaging ability, and with Runan's Hurricane on top of it, it's even better. And people have figured out that Jinx build for the past half year.
Fearless On.
Now looking towards red buff slash top lane as Mouse is up there collecting a wave. Ziv has so much free time because of this pressure AHQ is placing to push on the opposite side of the map, as they did see Mouse top. So good movements from AHQ, starting to set themselves up and slow things down to their pace.
And Mouse is a few seconds late on each one of these, which is going to result in that damage on the turret. He wants to keep the TP, but isn't going back quick enough, it seems. Top really doesn't even go to depth once again. A few minions there as it was already pushing out. See if they can recuperate to a fight that they want. All the vision is pushed up for AHQ, so they are seeing clearly what EDG is trying to set up.
This is such an unusual, doesn't feel like normal EDG the way they're playing this out. The communication doesn't feel entirely there, and this is on the cusp of potentially being taken out of Worlds. They are still making these mistakes. They haven't found themselves fully yet, so it feels like they're falling back to what they know. Tried and true late game team fight. Just hope they get there in a good enough shape.
It's very slow for the EDG squad, and they haven't had the same type of advantages that they usually have. They still have to kind of keep Mouse away, and Ziv has been picking up advantages solo against him. That top turret by himself in the laning phase gave AHQ a nice little bump. And the fact that this influence from Mountain across the map has been absolutely huge and disrupting EDG's flow, they seem to have not been able to get it back just yet on EDG's side.
So have to remember, EDG subbing Pawn in the mid lane for this game. 257 to 217. We're still waiting to see that Pawn impact on this matchup. He's kind of been quiet in the mid lane.
Things are going as expected besides the 2 kills as well for the Vladimir. So Pawn's a monster, honestly. When they get to that next team fight, you'd expect the Vladimir to go absolutely berserk, especially when he gets that level 16 breakpoint, and he is quite highly leveled. So you will actually need to remove him potentially before Deft, who is 0-2-6, isn't having the best game, is overdue for an item purchase as well. And I'm not even sure he has enough money for that item purchase. He's just generally struggling.
Yeah, and he doesn't have much room either, because he'd have to finish that Zeal and then start building towards whatever his second BF sword item is. It looks like he got kind of in between, and now he doesn't even have a slot for a pink ward.
Def sitting on 2,200 gold right now as he's just soaking everything up in the mid lane. Says, Pawn, we have enough already. Let me grab some of this. Go top. Fight against On. So really distributing the resources amongst those two, which will most likely be the hard carries come that end game.
That is an LPL thing as well, just going back and buying everything you can to be as slot efficient as possible, and then you realize that you've put yourself in this position where you need that much gold to sit on 2,200 and then say, well, I need about 500 more before I can actually shop.
Yeah, the question is, does he get Phantom Dancer or Infinity Edge? Infinity Edge, still no way to buy a pink ward, so...
It's okay, he's close to a Zeal now.
you would hope if you're his teammate, because right now, EDG, they need to be able to contest objectives. Ocean Drake coming up quite shortly, and they've given most of them up to AHQ so far, and EDG haven't even gotten the turret yet.
Hard to think of watching EDG's first game of the day, 34-50 against INTZ. Looked very clean, very methodical. They're very tempered right now, giving the respect to AHQ that they deserve because of that early game and because of that 6,000 gold lead. However, doesn't mean EDG is going to stop anywhere anytime soon. Moving now as a group of 4. They're going to try to make things happen.
That's really good from AHQ. AHQ put their Jinx in the top lane, and immediately EDG is like, oh, well, you're going to lose your middle turret, possibly the Ocean Drake on top of it. So they ward up the Baron. They put a pink ward in it. I don't know if they actually see that ward all the way in the back. Yeah, they do. Okay, so they're going to clear it out and try to get pressure here. So now EDG can't go to that bottom side of the map and get that Ocean Drake because there's pressure on this Baron, and On will continue to push that top.
Yeah, the back and forth that actually comes out of both of these teams. It's a dance cross map, however. It's not actually a Baron dance. They're not all in the river there. It's rotating from mid down and from mid up based off where the opponents are. So AHQ controlling the Baron area. EDG have control with pinks of the Drake area, but you can't concede the Baron, so they can't start.
Oh, Deft!
Oh, Mountain hiding.
Oh, Mount gets him solo!
Absolutely amazing. On was spot on with the Eagle Eye shot, but Mountain doing a work, as you say, solo, and will stay in the jungle just to give EDG something else to think about. They don't have wards to see him.
And that opens up the map. You can't go past that area. He was trying to go top to get the wave that On was pushing, and immediately punished by this Elise. That is now 5-1-1. Mountain does so much damage. He was not expecting it.
Insane stuff. Deft usually very, very quick to any reaction. Didn't even get his flash off there. Went down in the fight. And Mountain is
doing Baron.
They get everything.
They're going to get it. This is not going to be
Clear Love.
No, Clear Love is close, but Baron already goes down. They want the resulting fight. It's going to be Elvis saving On, spitting him back out to the backside, and now On can start to fire on EDG. But do they choose to get out as Westor goes down? EDG now turns their sight to the top side of the river, where it could be Ziv next. On forced to flash, and it looks like they will continue the chase.
Oh, On's trying to back in the back.
There's going to be the TP. That was the Baron back, rather, coming in. I thought somebody was flying in through a ward, but no TPs to be used on this fight. And On tries to come through, gets the kill into On finally. Elvis doing everything he can to save his team, but now left under the turret, alone with just about the same amount of health, as it looks like they will both be falling very soon.
Now there is still the Baron available. Ziv has got it, the only remaining member. This was a fight without depth, basically. He's just pushing the middle lane. EDG turn up the tempo and respond to what AHQ throw at the really good response. But that was incredibly clutch because it had to happen.
Exactly, it had to happen because AHQ got the kill onto Deft, they got the top tier 2, they got the Baron, and they got the bottom tier 2. If you didn't answer that, that is a 10k gold advantage for yourself on AHQ's side. They get it, and then they decide, well, we still have to fight this because they are just charging straight at them.
And we said this in Champions, like the Tahm Kench is just so important at keeping the carries alive. Being able to eat On twice through these fights to ensure that he's actually able to survive and get things done is the difference between a clean ace potentially and only 4 of them dying and having the Baron buff. But this fight, standing next to walls, choosing to recall, perhaps a cheat recall with the Baron empowered buff, doesn't get them what they actually needed, unfortunately, for AHQ.
If they had just gotten out sooner and maybe just sacked Westor and possibly Ziv or Mountain at that point, then 3 members get away. But they try to get greedy. They think they can take the fight with the gold advantage that they have, but they give up even more.
Ziv getting some damage on the turret when he can with his Baron minions. AHQ, they don't seem to hesitate after that play. Still going in, making sure the deep wards stay, and still getting the lanes pushed.
One big win is that Westor doesn't have the Baron buff, so this actually helps EDG a lot, at least. He will still push waves, Westor. He will still absolutely chunk the turrets when he hits them. But to actually push it, to have waves that'll stay alive and be more sturdy is not a thing anymore, so people can answer him one-on-one.
Yep. Like you said, it had to happen. They had to get that many members off because Ziv with it, sure, he can split push, but now he doesn't have teleport, so it's much riskier to actually split push at this point in time. Whereas Westor, if he had been able to actually keep it on himself, or anybody on the rest of the team of AHQ were able to, then they could have activated the 1-3-1, the 4-1 a lot better. Wow, top.
Fair enough.
He's just saying hello, goodbye. A little pressure on the mid turret. EDG is forced to react to both of the plays, and they lose mid. Now we'll push down and try to get their own push. You can see him pinging on that second tier. They want the minion wave right behind them to be what they need, but this is definitely going to slow them down.
And for what it's worth, the Baron actually hasn't amounted to too much for AHQ. They do get a turret naturally, but yeah, exactly right. The gold from them dying prior to when they got the buff has amounted in really nothing big.
A little bit longer on that Baron buff. Do they choose to use it here? Mostly just giving EDG a scare. They know to back off and let it wear out. And they're going to try to get the last few touches on this mid turret down if they stay here. A lot of wards behind them right now. Good thing Ziv does not have teleport.
Yeah, that's actually a massive amount of wards behind them. Unfortunately for AHQ, if EDG keep them here, they're only good for a flank. That's now 7 flanking wards opposed to any actual relevant ones. So AHQ either want to reset the map to make sure the wards are being utilized, or reset those wards, go back, upgrade your sidestone once again, refresh it, and place things again.
And we talk about how he's not able to use it. He's got 20 seconds on his teleport right there. You can see in the bottom left side of your screen. So Ziv does have the possibility of making a play in the future, but Mountain's caught.
Sending a message with the on the hunt, but like you said, Mountain caught. It looked like they just wanted the turret and found a spider in the end. They're going to drop Mountain and the turret, deciding to stay here as well. They spread the vision across, and they can just go from lane to lane.
Yeah, catching AHQ recalling once again. They might be going for some damage onto this turret. EDG turning up the tempo.
Trying to play and expect the unexpected
Ziv could jump
strategy.
in. Looking for the play. Ziv!
Oh, he gets bounced out by Mouse. Beautiful job, and the team's going to have time to run Tidal Wave to disengage. They don't even have to use anything else here, and EDG get out unscathed.
Beat him all lane doesn't actually matter, right? Mouse just needs to do the one important thing that he's there to do, and that is stop the Narc from going in and engaging. That was super clutch. Make sure that nobody from EDG goes down. They get to reset. The storm is calmed. We go once more.
It would have been a double bounce into possibly a flash to close it out and get the proper positioning there onto EDG. But nobody blows summoner spells to get away. Except a, I guess, pawn there. And then Mouse, steadfast presence, stand on your 80 carry, peel.
Pawn's job gets a little bit harder. Mortal Reminder now finished for On. Gonna have to be careful about his positioning. On will definitely be the priority target coming into these fights as long as Westor is dead. 7-11. 64,000 right now. What'd you say? 65 to 59. A lot of people thought this game would go in favor of EDG the way they came out today, but AHQ making a statement game here.
Yeah, I think we're waiting on one last item spike from EDG. They may have a gold deficit of a substantial amount, but hitting breakpoints is still a pretty big spike for this team. Vladimir Deathcap finished Last Whisper for the Sivir. They will still match the scaling damage that comes out of their opposition of Westor and Arn. This is going to be a massive late game team fight where either team could tip the balance in one hit.
I think On might be going for a QSS here, which I don't fully agree with because he has a Tom Kench on his team. It's a Tom Kench's job to build a QSS at that point, and there isn't much on the EDG side.
I'd go Hex Drinker.
They're actually going to do anything. So if he's going for it, but it's a Null Magic Mantle now. Or a Negatron Cloak. Yeah, so the Negatron Cloak.
Could be anything.
It could be anything. It's going to Abyssal Sector. No. It looks like it's most likely going towards something like a QSS.
Mouse pushed off of the top of bottom lane, if you will. He's going to give him a little bit of hell here. Ziv not even getting shots on the turret. He's just trying to be a nuisance as the team gets mid pushed up. They try to clean up all these lanes and deny EDG their resources. Blue's not really anything EDG needs right now, but it's definitely going to help Westor continue to keep these lanes pushed. Dragon will be up in 40 seconds. He's going to get some vision on them.
And it is going to be an Elder, and Baron is already live. So you'd expect priority to be towards the Baron pit opposed to the Elder. But last time we saw a Vladimir in a game with an Elder Dragon up. We also saw him sneak that Elder Dragon basically by himself. Thank you, ANX.
He's still fighting it. Is he still? He's still. That was an interesting moment altogether.
They're hitting Baron.
He's still fighting it. Let's go. Baron here.
EDG just tanking it. That's very risky.
A slow clear love waltzing in, which means AHQ will know they need to get over. TP over to the blue side.
That's really
Top to
risky.
bottom.
AHQ are going to actually push the bottom side of the map. They're going to have Ziv try to get this turret, or at least do some damage to it.
EDG have to go. The teleport's in and it's
Oh, they're going into the pit. Here comes Ziv.
I mean, even if you just lose Mountain on the attempt for the Baron, but EDG peels off. Tidal Wave goes out. Pretty tanky Ziv and Mountain there to take the brunt of it. AHQ on the outside of this fight, and the Rockets are shredding. EDG, it's on and Albus. They don't want to enter the brush, but now it gets scary since EDG only has to focus on.
And they can't do Baron because Arn is still here.
Yep.
They'd lose too many resistances and he would be able to get a basically pentakill immediately. So respect Recall. They are very lucky they forced the teleport out of Ziv because AHQ should have just pushed bottom outright and got the inhibitor and just baited the Baron, but they couldn't see how low it was. And now EDG are back on it.
They're going back to it because they had actually recovered enough HP in that time. And it's just going to be 2 on 5 in the Baron pit. Traps not actually sectioning them off completely.
On's ultimate not up, can't even fire for it, and EDG, not really on the back foot, but definitely not in the lead, are the first to grab Baron.
And in that team fight, there was a crucial moment. Ziv decides not to flash into EDG, but instead flash away in a moment that looked like a little bit of desperation and not going for the back line, and then he uses his Gnar to actually fling them away. And we're going to see it again right here, because this is the bait, the setup. They're trying to get that teleport out, so you have to go back on that Baron. TPs to this ward right in front of them. Albus gets knocked out. Mountain's in trouble. Ziv does not flash forward there and shove them into the wall.
And that was fantastic placement by EDG. You said yourself, Zyrene, they're in the pit, but that's what the bait they wanted. On the hunt, immediately out of the pit, and AHQ was expecting to be able to pinch them in.
And you saw how low everybody got on the side of EDG. You just need one get excited for On to start snowballing through that fight. If he got one, he's probably getting 3 or more at that point, and he just needed a little more CC from Ziv. That's all he needed.
This was a big moment for EDG, having the Baron buff and a big cluster of minions. Hard to actually utilize them when a Jinx with static shiv exists, but if they can just keep enough melee minions there to get the Sivir attacking turrets fall down, gold gaps close completely, and EDG put themselves in the driver's seat for what feels like the first time.
Yeah. Pawn becoming the strongest unit on the board now, not something we see all the time. 5-0 and 5. Laureate along Clear Love at 5-1 and 8. They're trying to push now on the front steps of AHQ's base, and they are going to do everything they can. On should be able to clear these quite easily. They just got to keep him safe.
Pawn, of course, super tanky, so disregard any damage that he takes. Actually look towards Death as the person they want to poke down. Doesn't have any lifesteal because he's gone towards the Hex Drinker to survive the burst that comes out of both Elise and Twisted Fate. So it's a smart call, but he's relying on his Warlord's Bloodlust.
So we're looking at the order of Deft to Pawn if AHQ get a good engage. What is it for EDG on AHQ? What is EDG looking for in that engage? Wait a minute, maybe they found it. On the hunt, straight to the middle.
Oh, 2!
Keeper's Verdict pops 2 back to the fountain. The belt goes forward for Pawn. Pulls his pants back up, and he's going to get out of this one.
Yeah, able to do this without the Mega Nub, but Ziv's still looking aggressively. If he gets 3 stacks off, he's super quick.
They can't even do damage to Clear Love right now. Mountain going after the tankiest people and putting himself on the front line. He goes down immediately. Now they're taking out the tanks. It should be the Squishies falling first, but EDG doesn't have to choose. Everyone is killable at this point for EDG. And Albus now trying to run out the clock on this one, but it's 50, 60-second death timers, and it looks like EDG is here to stay.
This looks like EDG have actually secured it. They come up clutch when it matters most. They're just waiting on minions. We'll see if they can actually finish this one off.
This is when you're screaming at the top of your lungs, move minions, come on! Where are you? 17-7, and it might be more kills for On to pick up now that he has a Guardian Angel. It's going to take a bit more focus. Bot and Hib's going to go down. This is going to stretch AHQ so thin on the next engage for EDG. They should be able to wipe right through, and they may not even wait to do it.
They're going to get this inhibitor. They're going to put some damage on Twib. Mouse comes back through, and there's 5 seconds on Mountain now. But the rest of AHQ, they still have a decent amount of time left on them, but it's smart by EDG because there still exists that ultimate from the Tahm Kench, the Abyssal Voyage, and also Westor with the gate. They could actually flank them, but EDG respect that and back off.
Of course, better safe than sorry this time around. If they had minions, it actually could have been completely
It would have been
GG.
game, yeah.
But that doesn't happen, so they play it safe, get everything they can from this scenario. The minions they prepared earlier, there's still the Elder Drake. Westor just altered to clear minions to increase the tempo so they can't push things in as quickly to give them time to stop the Elder from going down.
And this might come down to an Elder Dragon fight if EDG decide to pick it, because the 2 inhibitors that are down right now for AHQ will constantly push minions into their base, and that's the safest objective for EDG to go for, unless they want to just brute force down the middle and try to split.
There's the swing right there. The Baron fight, dipping it back down,
but
giving it to EDG.
And AHQ, the quarterfinals may have just slipped through their fingers there. They could almost taste it, and now they have to make a hero play to get back into this, whether it's On or Ziv with a Gnar. Something has to happen for AHQ, whereas EDG, they don't have to make that ballsy play. They can actually just walk this out with those super minions that are pouring down the lanes.
It's actually very clever from Mako, has a Guardian Angel so he can use the Mikhails on other people or have 2 lives. They've built themselves up to this moment, EDG. They've hit the big breaking points in items, but they still have to deal with a massive Jinx who has a GA of his own.
And imagine what would have happened if they didn't take down Westar on that first Baron attempt, and he had a side lane to push with Baroned up minions. Would that be EDG's base down already? Because that stopped a lot of AHQ's momentum.
With comps that have this many carries, it very well could be one deciding factor every single time.
Going into the top turret now. The inhibitor is the last one to fall. On the Hunt has been used for each one to send a message that we are here to fight. And they're continuing to go through. Ziv's popped out on the Mega Gnar, so that's just a timer they have to wait on. And a very nice looking fight could follow up right after.
Yeah, just let the Mega Gnar die down. The second he goes mini,
Calm
EDG
down,
should
Turbo.
advance.
Yeah, and in the bottom side, Super Minion's already pushing in. That's 3 inhibitors for EDG.
It's all just zaps and boomerangs. They don't even want to get that close to EDG. They're hoping EDG makes a mistake, but I believe there are none to make here at this point in the game. They would have to run into the fountain. They're so far ahead in their positioning.
Yeah.
And right now, the item's made.
They've got the chokehold. They just need to be patient. Don't make a mistake. Don't slip up and get caught out of position by a Twisted Fate stun.
Exactly.
Or an Elise Cocoon or even Mega Gnar. He's about to get back to that. Let the minions do the bulk of the work as they push in and just complement them. Or Elder Dragon.
Or Elder Dragon.
Well, also Baron in about
Everybody take a
25 seconds. If you can get that Baron as EDG, just buff up all of these double super minion waves, it would be incredibly difficult for AHQ to deal with it. And if they fight you in those minion waves, they do so much damage.
Yeah, Twisted Fate will spot him. So very good timing in terms of minion control here from EDG. It'd be very hard if they defend this. They can't.
Trying to set up something towards the top side, or at least the bushwhack. Ooh. They say go for Baron. The minions are pushed out quite far. We'll see if they can tempt it, or see if they can just buy EDG's time to make them wait a little bit longer.
So the thing is, inhibitors are about to be back available in mid and in bottom. So the Baron's an easier way for them to access those inhibitors one more time, so they can buff the regular minion waves. They've got the Elder Dragon. AHQ cannot fight
Westor, way too far forward with Mountain.
The turn, just like last time.
Wow.
Mouse gets Westor over the wall and follows. Now onto Mountain. He'll fall next after Azanya wears out as they are trying to take down Elvis through the thick skin. He also uses Face the Mountain to keep alive, but we see Westor going down to death after that flash engage from practically everybody on EDG. Mako's the only one with his flash up.
And EDG, they have that Elder Dragon. They're going to start pushing into the base. They have some waves. They're going to try to put themselves in quarters right now.
Looking at this last inhibitor, they say, no, let's just go for the turret. There are enough super minions here. Zip tries to kick them out to the side. Mouse now moving himself in. They're trying to get ahead on the turrets. EDG was looking 6,000 gold down in the middle of the game, and now EDG will take on H2K for first seed out of Group C to the quarterfinals.
And the #1 seed from the LPL secures quarters, and they say victory or nothing.
Could not have made it harder for themselves, mind you, Zyrene. That was a tough game. They were on the back foot for the entirety of that until the 40-minute mark. But still, late game team fighting the LPL special, they do come through clutch.
I was going to say, the swap to pawn. Scout roam a little bit more. No, we need somebody to hang out in the mid lane, become a gigantic factor, and then let them have it.
I think the most important point in this game was that Baron fight. because so much went over to AHQ. They actually jumped up to a 10,000 gold lead for a moment.
Yeah.
And then EDG executed perfectly. They took advantage of the fact that AHQ had an advantage and wanted to fight, and they took it to them. They played those mid-game team fights like you were saying, Rusty, and they come out on top and punch their ticket to Chicago.
And we saw this champion select being one of AHQ's best drafts considered for the players that they could bring to the table here.
Yeah, it definitely was. It's very surprising to see EDG beat what I called the Exodia composition. And honestly, that it still rings true. Westor gets his Twisted Fate. Ziv with a hyper carry that can also be an engaged tool. There was a lot of positives to see from AHQ. They even had the early game, just not in the end.
And AHQ can't do what they did before and make it out of groups and make it to quarters. But EDG, once again, sigh of relief because they were expected to go 6-0 in this group. People saw it. They were like, oh, you have a wild card here. Oh, you have these other teams in here. You should probably be able to dominate them. A little bit shaky, but they still come out near the top. And are they 1 or 2? We'll have to find out.
I mean, it's crazy to consider that they were the #1 seed from the LPL that 3-0'd RNG and almost missed quarterfinals at Worlds. That's absurd.
So now with EDG qualified for quarterfinals, we're going to send it back to the desk for a little bit of analysis.
Thank you very much, Riv, and what a game there to conclude what is our scheduled matches, and to think we still have one more to decide.
And you
who's
predicted
gonna be first.
HQ.
Yeah, why would I
Yeah.
predict HQ?
Yeah.
I should have listened to Officio because of EDG's strong early game that they were going to be able to come through.
Absolutely, absolutely. But no, I mean, I think what I love about this is exactly that. We identified so many of the different ways that AHQ could get ahead, and a lot of those things did play out. And a few fights that we will take a look at in a little bit, going one way or the other, could have spelled the end of it all for EDG.
Yeah, and Pawn is like an anime hero. He sits on the bench, he recovers from injury, and just when they need him, after everyone is dead, he comes in and just zones them off of Baron. What was he, like 8-0-8 or something at the end of that game? Superhuman performance from Pawn, and he saves EDG's season.
But so many surprises in this game. TF was left open where it really matters. And I'm like, okay, they have something prepared like Fizz or Pantheon or something to counter the TF. Vladimir. I'm like, oh, okay, so you don't want to kill him early game or anything? You're just going to let Westor actually be aggressive and try and play the map. Ziv gets his split push out top lane. It actually looked really, really good, and I thought EDG would do much better early game, but then after the draft, it was very clear they couldn't really do anything early game with Vlad and Poppy having to scale.
Yeah, I mean, we had a situation where Ziv was just hammering on the top lane. Then we saw him take down the turret solo at one point with about a 50 CS lead, and that's exactly what you want, a split push presence from him on that Gnar. And then Westor on the TF should, you know, ideally be able to affect the side lanes and come in for ganks.
This is actually one of the first times I've seen Westor take down the opponent mid-turret first. And also, if you look at, like, TF is a huge pick for him. 46% of bans went to TF in the regular season. People did not want him to get in that champion. And they actually had a really well composition to finish off the game if they got the Baron buff. They have long range and the enemy has to run into them. They were really, really close. And I feel like AHQ has to walk away from this feeling pretty frustrated.
And I do want to dive into our first replay 18 minutes into the game. This is for AHQ, a 2-for-0 with a great TP from Ziv down to the bot lane.
Yeah, you just saw Vladimir in the mid lane, so why on earth is EDG pushing a tower against a Twisted Fate and a top laner with teleport? You're literally asking the other team to just use 2 globals to kill you in the bottom lane.
Mountain had a gorgeous play there, by the way, to flash, break the spell shield with Q, and then stun Death, and that only set up Ziv's amazing Gnar ultimate against the wall. This was super crisp from HQ. Until the end there, just...
Yeah, he's baiting, he's going to flash out. But the crazy thing to me is EDG is the team in the LPL who plays a ton of globals. They are the team who used globals to beat RNG and just camp bot lane with globals in the final. And yet when they play against Twisted Fate, they're like, what can he do? Can he TP bot lane if my mid lane is sitting mid? Probably not. And then they go for that push, and you're like, you almost deserve to lose basing on a play like that because you just allowed the TF to do exactly what he wants to do. And this was one of the main reasons they fell so far behind early.
Right, and with that being behind, of course, we looked at AHQ continuing to grow their lead, and then they make the stab at Baron. 30 minutes into the game, a good move towards it. They do secure it, but the fight that unveils on the back end of it spells disaster.
The turning point in the game right here.
Yeah, like they got deft first, and then they're coming in, they're studying for the fight. Actually, if you see Westdoor's position, he gets picked off in the fight very early and can't go in to do more damage. Vladimir Pon himself is holding down 3 people from AHQ, and AHQ just can't get out of the area fast enough. If they keep their parent on 3 people, just walk away from this fight. And why are you TVing here? No!
I mean, honestly, this is inexcusable to me. Yeah. When you realize that 1 or 2 of your members are going down on one side of a fight, and the other 3, Ziv, An, and Albus, have the option at that time to completely bail out, preserve more than 1 Baron buff, so you can at least then use Ziv in one lane and 2 Baron buffs in another to make pushes beyond that point. But they were relegated to a single Baron buff at the end of that fight, only on Ziv, and at that point, you don't have the kind of map pressure you need to continue pushing your lead.
No, and you also handed over more gold to the enemy, Vladimir, who was the big carry in fight. You saw him in this team fight just sitting in the backline. Westdoor, I think his flank was not good enough right there. He tries to go in with the back, he gets caught instantly. There's such a big difference between Twisted Fate and Vladimir in these late game team fights, especially when Twisted Fate can't really gold card anyone. Vlad was going to pull and spell shield from Civ is so hard.
And I also don't think like AHQ ever played a fight the way they wanted to. They needed to disengage the pool from Vladimir, then either Elise Cocoon or gold card. And when a Sivir was down, like in that Baron fight, no Sivir in that fight, you can actually focus that because you'd be able to withstand the initial burst. But they didn't do that. They ate the Jinx, and they weren't able to chain any CC off it. They couldn't get the auto attacks, and it was a really poorly played fight by AHQ, but it was the turning point for EDG, and it's the reason they're in the quarterfinals.
And then, of course, from there, EDG felt they had a foothold into the game. That's going to take us to the fight that sent EDG to the knockout round, presented to you by Acer.
And by Clement Chu. What do you think, Clement, right here?
Well, I think that, this is a fight that they could take. It looks like a winning fight. The TP was kind of late, but Mount actually has a very poor positioning choice right here. Gets caught out, and then we see Mount get knocked into a wall again. He's basically dead. Westdoor flashes in, can't get the damage off.
But he flashes into melee range. On was sitting so far in the back of this fight with both summoner spells up, and people got so low in that fight. If HQ plays these fights a little bit better, obviously
could have won it.
Best team fighting team in this game by far. So you can see the gold swing, and that's just because HQ wasn't playing team fights well.
And it's easy again to look at someone like Westdoor and just look at the 2 mid laners and what they're doing in these late game fights. If his TF is actually also focused on peeling for his AD carry, it's much easier for Arn to pick the right targets. And if anyone ever gets onto Arn, Time Kench will just eat him. But here late game, we talked about how hard it was for TF to actually lock down a target. Mikhails as well were going to be built obviously on the support. So if you do stun someone, Mikhails from Mako will come in and just stop someone from dying. And really, it just was impossible, I feel, almost for HQ to win late game. And they're going to look at this game and they're going to be so angry because they had it.
Yeah, I feel like there were multiple adjustments that probably could have been made to get them through that mid-game a little bit smoother and drive it home for a victory. Ultimately, that's not the case. And the player of the game on the other side of the coin is going to be Pon. Jat, you already mentioned this guy off the bench comes in and saves the world's run for EDG.
He's a superhero, 7-0-9. Westdoor was unable to do effectiveness in team fights. Even when their AD carry was dead, Pon was winning the fights for them. He was basically their front line because Mouse was having a poor game, and he did absolutely everything they needed him to do. The sub-in worked exactly right, and after this performance, I'd be very surprised to see Scout again.
All right, well, EDG has a little bit of time to gear up to face off against H2K, vying for that first seed here in Group C. Of course, blue side has been selected by H2K, so on the other side of this break, we're going to get into what exactly we think might make or break that matchup. But H2K and EDG are on to the next round. Stick around, because when we come back, they'll fight it out for the first seed in Group C.
Thickskin's there to be used on, back out, fires the ultimate off, and Mako's trying to take him down. He does get the kill. Clearlove instantly in the brush to gain vision and keep it. EDG come up with a kill there in Westdoor. Mako's still there. Evan Westdoor's gonna go down. Oh, the Zanyas comes out. He's still going down. It just looks pretty. But EDG doesn't have to choose. Everyone is killable at this point for EDG. And Albus now trying to run out the clock on this one. But it's 50, 60-second death timers. And it looks like EDG is here to stay.
And the #1 seed from the LPL secures quarters. And they say victory or nothing.